I'm trying to learn a lot of the WordPress tools, and this is a local hosting environment that I like, and I want to show you a couple of ways to get started. One of the interesting things that's happening now is the blueprint. And what this allows us to do, as if we all have clients and we like to use a certain set of plugins, a certain way to quickly build a website. So a blueprint allows you to choose a theme, plugins to install on startup, so that you have that already installed instead of having to go through the process of installing yourself. So I set up in the blueprint screen. When you get here, there are three options. You can do the quick start, which WordPress.com gives you some of the basic plugins and themes to get started with the business plan. The development environment, it'll create, it'll set it up so that you can build a theme or write a plugin in a developer style environment installation of WordPress. And then there's one for WooCommerce. So you can choose one of these three presets, or you can make your own, which I'm going to upload here. We're going to go ahead and install that, but we're going to set up our site. And actually, we're building a site for a Korean barbecue place in Santa Clarita called Charcoal. So let's go ahead and create the site. And just go with the basic setup. One of the great things about WordPress is that the 5-minute install was famous for putting WordPress on the map. A lot of the hosts had a one-button install where you would just click it and it would go through this same process, installing WordPress on the server with all of the basics to get up and running and have your site live in 5 minutes or less. So currently it's going through a similar process. It's taking that blueprint, looking through the JSON file, and for each plugin that I called out. And so now it's installed and it's ready to go. It shows you here a quick preview of the home page with the theme, and you can customize from here and jump right in. You could actually see where it's at in your Finder. You can go directly and work in your development tool of choice, or you can work in Terminal. So you have three options to do that right away. You have the access to the AI assistant. You can open the site and take a look at it, but we're going to, all right. So when you take a look at it again in less than a minute or so, it's installed the basic installation of WordPress. You get 6.83. You can actually pick the version of PHP. You can get really specific with this, but for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to take a quick look at the plugins to see what was installed. So I asked it to install the Carousel Slider block, FakerPress, Gutenberg, Jetpack, Social Sharing block, and Icon block, in addition to the standard two plugins that WordPress always install, Kismet and Hello Dolly. Also, let's take a look at, excuse me, let's take a look at the themes that were installed. So it went ahead and installed 2025 like I asked it to, but it also installed 2024 and 2023 as part of the standard installation. All right, so local Korean barbecue restaurant that has some really poor design, really poor usability. If you go ahead and look at this, if we take a quick review by looking at the homepage, there's no immediate call to action. There's a picture of a Korean barbecue, meats on a grill at a Korean barbecue restaurant. Nothing happens when you hover over it. There's no call to action. If you scroll down, it gives you the hours that they don't take walk-ins, which is a negative thing. I don't know if that's something you need to tell customers right up front. Again, when you're designing something, your most important information should be above the fold. Your call to action, what you want them to do should, hit somebody over the head. There's an acronym for AYCE. I'm assuming that means all you can eat, but someone that's never been to this style of restaurant or may not know what that means. Say, for instance, you're coming from another country, like say you're coming on a weekend visit to Los Angeles from Vancouver, Canada. You may not know what that means. Or if you come from another country like Mexico that does a language. So it's never good to do that. But again, this information doesn't seem like it's important to know right up front. It has something about the seatings, but again, Having the hours is good, but I don't know if that's critical. Then there's an interesting copyright thing. It doesn't really give you a year, but it says copyright. I don't know what that means. There's a credit for, I'm assuming, the host that this site is on. And then there's a link to a barbecue entree page, which I'm assuming that takes you to part of the menu. But why is just one link at the bottom in the footer where people generally don't get to the bottom of a page and look at the footer or spend a lot of time there? So why, if this link is important, why would you put it at the bottom? You have a link to the home page, but also on the right-hand corner, one of the standards, and one thing about user experience is you want to rely on things that are common and understood by most people. Most people understand that the logo in the upper right hand corner takes you to the home page. So you don't need to have charcoal barbecue and home on the same page that take you to the same place. So you've got two links to the same place in the same general vicinity. So that's a big no-no in terms of user experience. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 menu items plus it looks like barbecue entree appears in 2 places, so it seems like they want to make this more important. I put it in that must be the area they want their customers to purchase from. And then you have contact information. So here's where the specific hours are located, even though they're similar. Here's where the phone number, one of the most important, actually the most important things for this site are on this page, except for one. You have the address. No, actually, you have the address, phone number, hours, and the map. That's kind of useless, but it does point you to get directions, which is probably what you need more than actually seeing a map, which takes up more space. It's just as big as the photo on the homepage. Again, it has some holiday hours. Again, this information seems like it could be on the homepage. I don't know why they split it off onto its own page. Then the menu items are in HTML, which is good. A lot of restaurants have their menus in PDF, which isn't accessible. That's good, but then it's sort of, you don't know what you're getting. You have to make the association from left to, so it looks like you read top to bottom here, but then there's some text above, and then there's some text below. So it's a little confusing how the content's laid out. So with that in mind, we're going to rebuild this as our restaurant page. We're in the dashboard. We're going to go through some general settings. It's always important to add a good site description. This is indexed by search engines. We've created a logo. We're going to go ahead and add alt text. It's always a good idea in terms of accessibility to do that. This logo is going to be used for the site icon. A site icon is 512 by 512. And then we'll go through the general settings, setting the location, the language, and things of that nature that are, again, very important as SEO. We're going to go ahead and set our reading settings. These are all general things that we do, so I'm sort of breezing through them pretty fast. But when you create a page for the first time or a post for the first time, you'll get the show pattern starter screen. You could turn that off, but for the sake of this demo, I'm going to go through and show you some things that you need to see. One of the things that I did immediately was changed my templates for both my page and my blog to a page with no title, because again, I don't want to show home, or I may not want to show menu, but again, turning it off, you can always change back in terms of menus. And I go through and I do this on the pages that I'm going to do that are evergreen or that are important to this design. Again, you have a whole bunch of different patterns that are built with 2025 or the theme that you're using. I'm going through again and I'm setting up these pages so I can quickly go back in and assign a template and get ready to assign them in the reading settings. So I'm going back to the reading settings. Generally out of the box, it is set up to be a post, be a blog. So your latest post will be selected. In this case, we want a static home page. So once you select a static page, you select the pages that we created earlier, the blog and the home for each of those. And then you go ahead and you design based on that. We're going to go to the home page now and we're going to set up our styles. We're going to go through and look at the typography. The great thing about the style book is that it shows you in a very visual way all of the patterns that are associated with this theme that you can go back in and customize or modify based on your design system. You have a number of variations included with your theme. So right out of the box, there are 9 different style variations associated with 2025 that have definite looks and feels in terms of colors, uses of fonts or font pairs for each variation, so you have definite, distinct, different looks. You can also add your own font or your own flair. It's easy to grab Google Fonts. You can the first time you'll be prompted to connect to Google Fonts, and then you can go ahead and select the fonts you want from their library, or you can upload your own. And so again, I'm just going through the style book and showing you various ways you can modify things globally. And a great thing about the style book and editing global styles is that it applies site-wide. So if you change it here, which is always how I recommend doing it instead of on the specific block, it'll allow for a global change to impact. You can also go into the style book and go through each individual element and customize it based on your look or your feel or your Figma file. So you can go in and specify fonts for each weight, for headings, for H2s, for links. You really have the control to go through and do it all up front, which I recommend doing, especially if you're doing a design system. Again, locking all that information in so you can really customize it based on the look and feel you really want. And again, I'm just going through a lot of these different areas quickly to show you. And as you make changes, you'll know that you can even change the colors. The preset here, which you have 11 different color variations that are associated with this theme. You can go through and change each specific color that they predefined into something that more suits your design style. And again, you could change the layout. There's a layout that I wanted to follow for my personal blog, and I love the look and feel, so I was able to change the width of the layout, the wide width. All the things that are defined within the style are not now within your reach in the style book. If you say, for example, if you were editing the images and you want all your images to have a rounded corner, you can go in through and do that. So again, all of the 71 patterns that are included with 2025, you can go through and customize each and every one of them simply and easily. So let's go ahead and create a menu. You have a number of different options. You're going to go to patterns, and under patterns you'll see all the preset elements or items for that theme. And for 2025 you have a number of different patterns. So there's 71 patterns in total that you can leverage. We're going to go into header, and you'll see 3 variations on the header. A very bold, large text format version of the header, something really standard, a basic header with just text, and then a vertical header, which is an interesting way to do menus. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and select the standard header. A couple of things of note is you have the ability to do a lot of the editing here, but I always suggest start with opening your outline. You'll see your menu items here. You can reorganize those in a couple of different ways. Let's go ahead and plus everything open so you can see everything that we're working with here and everything that we can change. All right, you can modify the menu items by dragging them and moving them here. When you select an item, you can move it this way with the arrows. So if you feel like you want to reorganize things, you can turn them into submenus. You can add a submenu here. So all of the things that you want to all the basic things you want to do with the menu are here, which is much different from how it used to be in Classic Editor or in Premium Theming. And you'll see it each time you select something on the right, the information changes. But in this case, we're going to add something after the menu as it is. We're going to go ahead and add in our social icon. To pull up a contextual menu, you can do a slash and start typing in the item that you want. And as you use items, they'll appear, WordPress will surface them. So you'll see social icons once you use it at the top of the menu, or videos if you add it, YouTube, for example. So let's go ahead and click on the plus sign to add in our social media. For a restaurant, probably one of the most important things to have there is a Instagram account. We're going to go ahead and put some placeholder text in there for our restaurant, because again, a lot of people What you would like for your audience to do is share images, share their experiences. People eat with their eyes, so you want to see images of your dishes and food online. So we'll go ahead and do that by adding that one. Let's go ahead and add another one. Yelp is a great place for reviews. So again, click on the social media icon once you've added it. Go ahead and enter your information. And TikTok's another good one. That's a different demographic, but it's very visual. It allows for more videos and things like that in a more engaging environment. So let's go ahead and all right. Once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and edit the visual look of it. For me, you have 3 variations on this block. You can go with the pill shape, or you can go with just the logos only, which I prefer. And then we're going to go ahead and change the color to a simple black. All right, let's go ahead and add space between the blocks. Yeah, it feels good. All right, then we're going to go up and swap out a couple things. Instead of the site title, we're going to add in, before, we're going to go ahead and add site logo. Let's make it about 500. You can resize it by grabbing these circles, which were kind of hard at that tiny size, or you can come and edit it on the left. You have a number of different options when you make changes, or how you want your logo to behave. Let's make that 450. Okay. All right, then you have some other options, but we're not going to focus on that right now. You can crop it, you can make a duotone effect. So now we have that. Let's go ahead and make the background a color. One thing, yeah, but again, you could leverage your variations, and when you go through, you can see it made the change to these items automatically. This block, though, we're going to have to come in and change the color to white. And so we have all that. And then one other thing we want to consider is, one of the features that I'd like to happen is to always have the menu present on every page. So we're going to make it sticky. So you select the top group. Again, you want it to affect the entire block. And you have a couple of different options here. Let's go to position. And if you click on the plus, select that, it pops out your menu. And the 2 options are to have it default, which means it moves with the page. So it'll scroll off, but we want it to stick to the top. So let's go ahead and save that. Now let's get to the footer. When you select footer under template parts, under patterns, you'll see that there's a footer with columns, a footer newsletter, and a footer. The interesting thing about these variations provided with, or these patterns provided with 2025, is that it has a newsletter function. You know, a lot of times you'll come to a website and there's a way for you to subscribe to the newsletter or engage, provides the business owner a way to engage with their customers. So you'll notice that it has another preset pattern that you could drop in above your footer. And these, a lot of times you'll see these options near the bottom of the page. So again, this is a very visual, very striking way to ask people to subscribe to your page. So in this case, let's go ahead and select the basic footer. In this case, you'll see as you open up your outline here, and and open things up that you have a site logo, which is tiny in this case. And again, you would need to update that. But I think in this case, in terms of user experience, we want the key information in text version so that it's indexed. You can also add this information in alt text, but I feel visually it's easier as well. So let's go in and swap this to use site icon. So we want to swap out the logo, but we only want to use the flame. And we're going to add it next to the text. So let's go ahead and do that. Instead of using the actual logo with the text, which is a logo type, we're going to go ahead and add the actual logo itself before. Let's grab that from the media library and remove the site logo, the footer black to match the header. Again, I'm sort of designing as I go. I try not to do the black bands on the top and the bottom, but in this case, let's go ahead and do that. It pulls in the tagline and information. We're going to go ahead and add the address for the restaurant here. Let's go ahead and pop that in. Because again, and we're going to add, let's add that afterwards. We're going to add after, we're going to add some paragraph text. Let's go ahead and we'll also add a link to a Google map. So instead, on the other site, it had an actual physical map, which takes up space, but we're physically showing the actual, we're physically listing the location, which can be indexed on every time someone pulls up the page. It's on every page that's viewed, so it'll index a little better than having it separated on one page. We can also add it to a location page, but that's not the need for this purpose. We don't need to in this case. Okay, let's go ahead and do some final touch up here. Let's go ahead and delete the tagline at the bottom. So now we basically have our footer complete. We'll edit this information later, but again, the great thing about using patterns is that it's already set up for you. You don't really have to do much design. All you need to do is pop in the information that you want. So let's go ahead and save that. And it shows you where it's going to update the information site-wide. And so we'll go ahead and do that. So now we have the header and footer. Let's go ahead and lay out the home page. So now let's lay out the home page. And again, I'm showing you some basic principles for user experience. Again, always answer the who, what, where, when, and why. On your home page, create a clear and concise call to action. And in this case, let's go ahead and put together a page with some basic patterns that you can always go in and modify later. All right, and what we're going to do for this demo is show you how to create a page entirely with patterns. So go to wordpress.org/patterns, and you'll notice that there's over 2,143 patterns. The default by nature is to curate those. So these are showing you mainly the automatic ones or the ones that they've approved. I suggest looking at all and hitting apply. This will show you all 2,143 of these. And I put together a list here of the patterns that I wanted to use in this design. So what we're going to do here, again, this is a quick way to get a site up and running. So basically in an hour or so, or hour or two, if you follow this method, you could have your pages up, and then you could just focus on modifying and editing those. In a future session, we may want to go ahead and design based on a Figma file or something more specific. But in this case, this is a quick way to look at a site, ask some basic questions, and get a site up pretty quickly using full site editing, patterns, and other basic techniques. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click through on a few. Okay, so this one, again, it's just a simple intro with the heading. So again, this is our call to action area. It gives you an example of how it looks on different devices. So you can copy the pattern. All right, so let's go back and we're going to go to our pages. We're going to select the home. page, which we set up initially. Again, it's the template is page with no title, so home's not going to show. Again, it shows you the starter pattern thing. So again, I would suggest as you're learning and getting started, go ahead and keep this selected. But in this case, we're just going to skip. We're going to come here and we're going to paste. And so as you can see, it brought in the item that we wanted. And we can go ahead and say, discover the taste of Korea, Korean Korea in the Santa Clarita Valley. And then we can say, see, in an ideal world, I would pitch having an online service like DoorDash, Grubhub, etc. So we're going to make that our call to action. Then we're going to swap out this image. Go to our media library. Let's grab something. Well, actually, let's upload a couple of images here. Again, I'm going to pop that in. Okay. And so we have that done. Then we can come out here. Okay, and we're going to add something after. We're going to go back to our pattern, and we're going to grab something else. Let's go back over to our directory here. We're going to add in a couple of cards. This could be our specials. So again, you can pull those up. Again, these are pre-formatted. You can bring them in, apply your brand colors and drop it in. So we're going to come here and paste that in. And then we have our basic card section. Again, we'll modify the colors quickly. Let's go ahead and change colors based on our style. Let's go ahead and match our style here. I'll take the background. And let's swap out some of the images to quickly grab that. Let's go ahead and swap out the images. And this way you can bring focus to it. And actually, I think I would probably move this above the cards. But again, you're quickly laying out the page. And then, so once we have our specials, we'll call this area special. We'll go ahead and add something before, and that's going to be specials. And we'll turn that into a heading. And again, WordPress is smart enough to know that you already have one H1 on the page, so you can drop in H2. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. And you can easily move it around. So again, with the outline, you can either move it this way, and we'll go all you can eat, specials. And so again, you quickly go ahead and you've laid out a page. Let's go ahead and save that and take a look at our page. And again, you can always come in and we can color some things, to distinguish it. I would probably drop a color in behind that. You have your all you can eat specials. We can come in and drop that in, and then we'll come in and we'll have to do some massaging here. But again, you've quickly laid out a page that has a lot of the basic information that you need in terms of our call to action. You allow people to express themselves on social media. You have the key call to action items here. You have a call to action button on the page. We have a visible logo that suggests flame broiled items. Let's go ahead and add one more thing to finish this page off, and that is